Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, let's get into it. So today we are in the Old Testament still. Woo! Okay. We are in Unit 2, History, and we are concluding history today. Can you grab one of those, please? If you remember the last couple of weeks, when we were in Ezra, and there's that kind of time jump between, I believe it was chapter 6 and chapter 7, and we said that that is when Esther takes place, because it skips from Darius being the king to Artaxerxes being the king, and historically between those two, there's one more who is Xerxes or Ahasuerus, depending on whether you use the, I think, Persian or Greek name for the same person. And that king is skipped over in the timeline of Ezra and Nehemiah, and that is the king of Esther, Ahasuerus. Yeah.
You might know it's Ahasuerus.
Ahasuerus. Nice.
Sound like a
Aha! So, Esther takes place in the middle of Ezra, and then you'll remember last week when we were in Nehemiah, I said that at the end of the book of Nehemiah, that is historically, chronologically, the end of the Old Testament. So everything that happens from the beginning of Genesis through the end of Malachi is contained within Genesis through Nehemiah. Right? So everything else that we're studying for the next just shy of a year is already happened. It's just kind of removed and put over here thematically. And so as we go through, I'll do my best to provide context. This is where this happened, if we know that. Some things we just don't know. Like in a couple of weeks when we get to Job, it happened somewhere. We don't know exactly when. I'm not told.
happened before TV.
There's no real context clues for that. But today we are in Esther, concluding the historical section, and we're talking about royalty and rescue. All right, who would like to open us in prayer today? All right, Hannah, go for it.
Alright. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us here today. I know practically all of us are still tired, but thank you that we got our rest. And I pray that you help us stay awake and pay attention so we can learn more about you. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. All right. I've kind of already covered the review time, but who can tell me the most important part of Ezra and Nehemiah? What happened? One sentence summary for each of them.
They did wrong, so God put them in exile, and they repented, so they were able to return home and build their place.
Yep.
Walls and temple.
What?
The walls and the temple, they rebuilt.
Yeah. Yeah. In Ezra, they rebuilt the temple. In Nehemiah, they rebuilt the walls and the rest of the city of Jerusalem. And now the Jews are back home. Great. Okay, now we rewind, like I said, and go into Esther. It takes place in the other part of the world and during everything else that's been going on. Okay? Are there any questions about that? Have I made it historically context clear? Yeah? Okay. Yes.
Esther happens. Okay, sorry. Does Nehemiah or Ezra have any relationship context to the king of Persia that we see in Esther? Do they ever talk to him?
They, from my memory, do not talk with Ahasuerus. He's skipped over narrative.
Okay.
He is mentioned in Ezra when it does that kind of time jump and says
Yeah.
these guys have been trying to get us to stop building. the whole time that Darius was king, and then also while Ahasuerus was king, and now while Artaxerxes is king. I think that's in chapter 4 of Ezra. Yeah. And so he's mentioned there as being one of the kings of Persia in this line of Darius, Ahasuerus, Artaxerxes.
Yeah.
And then the temple is finished during Darius's reign, and then the next thing that happens is Ezra talks to Artaxerxes, the
Okay.
king after Ahasuerus.
Okay.
So he's leapfrogged over narratively
Okay.
and isn't part of that story. Like, we know he's there because he's mentioned as one of the kings in the line, and then they go, wee, and just skip him. And now we see his part of the story
Yeah.
someplace else. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions before we get going? Okay. Cool. How did the reading go for everybody? I should see all thumbs up.
Well then.
Oh, can you just turn your head upside down and then look at mine?
But then everyone else will be upside.
Yeah.
So
Just look at mine then. Like, go upside down and then turn
Just
back up.
go.
Go back around.
All right.
My thumb is up.
Those of you who have your thumbs down, I really hope it's not because you waited until after the lock-in to even start reading and then were too tired and didn't read it.
Or it is
Because that means that maybe you shouldn't have been at the lock-in at all. You're going to use it as an excuse.
It's not an excuse.
It's not an excuse.
I just entirely
Just saying.
forgot for the whole week.
When you
I
had
got
a
a
week
week
of
of
schoolwork.
Maybe next lock-in we'll just read whatever book of the Bible we're at the whole time.
Honestly, yes. I would.
Can you do the next one before we start songs?
We will read all of Psalms over the next 12 hours.
No break.
That
We
was
should
Does anyone
just
have to
pass
stay
around
awake?
the kill my
I
I mean, yeah, in Ezra they read, you know,
Yeah.
the law of Moses, the not even poetic flowy bits, from early in the morning till midday,
Yeah.
every day. And it did amazing things for them.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into Esther. Open Bibles, open notebooks.
What if your notebook is empty? Yeah.
If your notebook is empty,
We should fill it.
then you should fill it. Take some notes as we go, and that will benefit you because you'll have it written down for the next time that you want to like go through and remember what was the book of Esther all about? What were some of these key things that happened? You can look back in your notes. And also, to a lesser extent, you can show us your notes from class and get a makeup star if you didn't do the homework. Okay? Okay. Esther, chapter 1. Who would like to summarize chapter 1? This is kind of a prologue, right? It sets the context, and we're not even introduced to the main characters quite yet. Benjamin, want to go ahead and take that?
Alright, so it starts out with King Ahasuerus or Xerxes or whatever.
Mhm.
He has a ton of banquets, and it lasts like 180 days. And then after it talks about how it was like rich, like it's not as rich as Solomon or whatever, but he had some money.
Mm-hmm.
And then
He is
later-
the king of a pretty vast empire. So
Yeah.
from, what does it say? From India to Ethiopia.
127 provinces.
Yeah. Everybody knows where India is, right? Okay. Everybody knows where Africa is,
Yes.
right? Ethiopia is northern Africa. So take from India over here all the way across to northern Africa, including Israel. This is pretty big. I mean, territorially, his kingdom is bigger than Solomon's.
Yeah.
Solomon had like his much, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
As far as money, I don't know.
It's opposite.
It would seem like if you have that much land, you would have all the money inside of that much land.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Mr. Giggles.
Yeah.
Would the place that he ruled over be called a kingdom or an empire?
He's called a king, but I'd consider it an empire.
Okay. Should say empire.
most people say the Persian Empire, not the Persian Kingdom, when they're
It's known
referring
in
to it.
history as
Yeah,
the
historically.
Empire.
So, he is the king of an empire.
Kingdom and empire are kind of interchangeable.
Sometimes they are, yeah.
Sometimes kingdom is just like a castle and the surrounding farmland, or everything you own is.
Yeah. It really depends on like what era of history and what part of the world. Because yeah, a lot of times further back in history and in the like Middle East area, a king is like over a ton of stuff versus you get to more recent history in Europe and the king of a castle, he has like the castle and the farm around it, which is, I mean, like that's great, but that's not a lot. Like he's got less square mileage than Fairbanks, which is not a whole lot, and most of it would be farmland. Versus India to Ethiopia.
You also have like, hey, I'm a king and you're a king, but I own you as a king,
Yeah.
which is where we get the historical context for the phrase king of kings.
Mhm. Yeah. Like here, Ahasuerus would be like the king of Persia, but then there would still probably be lesser kings. Or like later on, King Herod was really kind of just a governor underneath the Roman Caesar,
Yeah.
but still called a king. So it's a little confusing. Here, more emperor and empire than king and kingdom. Okay, Benjamin.
Okay.
That was more historical context.
So after that, Queen, I don't want to try to pronounce that.
Vashti.
Vashti. Okay. Anyway, he like wants to show her off to his people, and she chooses not to do that. And so they decide that like, you shouldn't be the queen anymore. You defied the king, so we're gonna get you a new queen. And then I think that's where the chapter ends.
Yeah. Yep. And like specifically, the king's like advisors say this could upset a lot of people, and this could, the women of the kingdom could see the queen's defiance and basically start a rebellion against the men, and we don't want that to happen. Like it's not. There's no good reason for what's happening right now. There's no good reason to call the queen in because he's just wanting to show her off because she's pretty. There's no good reason to banish her. It's just we're off to a great start.
Very great start.
Very great start. So the queen has been deposed, essentially fired as queen, and banished from the king's sight. And that's where we end chapter 1. All right, that was the prologue. Chapter 2. Katie?
So then they're choosing a new queen, and they basically have this huge like beauty pageant to pick the newest queen. So they all
That's a
the king
mild
gets
way of saying it, yeah.
yeah. So the king, they all have like I don't remember how much time just to get pretty. Basically.
6 months.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite a while.
It's a beautifying process. And then he chooses Esther, who's actually a Jew, but she's pretending not to be. And then she's chosen. And then Mordecai, so her uncle, who's like raising her.
Is actually her cousin.
Yeah, it's
kid.
right, first cousin?
Because it says Esther, the daughter of Mordecai's uncle. So they're cousins.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then he tells me
it
he
is
said her
really
uncle.
more like an uncle situation is kind of how it's
Age-wise.
portrayed.
Yeah.
But actual cousins.
Yeah.
Relative.
Well, okay, then
Most
her dad-
translations and scholars just kind of say relative because it's a little also based on how you would translate uncle, but Mordecai is
Yeah.
relative. Caregiver.
Relative.
Adopted father. Kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because her
basically.
parents died, and then he raised her, and then he discovers that these like guards basically of the king are gonna try and kill the king, so he saves the king.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
There you go.
They got one.
There was not a piano that was going to fall on him. I thought about having us watch the VeggieTales
Yeah.
Esther at the
Yeah.
lock-in, but then I
Yes.
was like, no, that's going to be even more confusing for the people who didn't read it, because VeggieTales is not what happens in the Bible.
That's fine.
She didn't sing a little song on stage to make the king love her.
There's no such thing as
You can read chapter 2 and it tells you more or less what she did to make the king fall in love with her. Okay? And it wasn't singing a little song. So yeah, Mordecai saves the king, and it is written down. That's important later. It is written down that Mordecai saves the king.
Yeah.
Okay. Mordecai tells Esther. Esther warns the king and says, Mordecai is the one that overheard this plot and that saved you. All right. Then after these things, so there's a time jump that we can talk about, but it's not super important. We're introduced to a new character. Who wants to take chapter 3? Yeah.
Okay, I want to go like a sentence.
Okay.
So Haman,
Mhm.
pretty much like the king's right hand man or whatnot. He thinks highly of himself. So he kind of, he really dislikes Mordecai.
Why?
Isn't it because he won't bow down to him or like
Yeah.
follow
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
the rules or whatnot?
Haman is promoted to a position where people should be bowing and respecting and honoring him, and Mordecai doesn't, for whatever reason. We're not told.
And then Haman thought of tricking the king while he's drunk, pretty much, to make a decree to kill pretty much all the Jews on a certain day. I don't remember.
Yeah. Yeah, Haman doesn't like Mordecai because he won't respect him and honor him, and he finds out that he is Jewish, and so he's like, let's just kill all the Jews then, I guess. Haman is not a great guy, and he basically rolls dice for an entire year. If you really read in verse 7 through like 8, he's rolling these dice or casting lots from the first month till the 12th month. For an entire year, he's just stewing and just like getting more and more angry, right? He's holding this grudge and not doing anything about it. He's just, I picture him like in his room with like the curtains closed, and he's just like rolling dice, like Mordecai for an entire year, and just is not healthy. And we're not told exactly the purpose of these dice or this casting lots. We just know he's casting lots for an entire year and then decides on the day that he wants all the Jews to be killed. Who knows what exactly he was doing and casting.
He's being possessed by a demon just night after night.
You know, whatever it is, the lots are important to him, and we're told that they cast pur or pur, and that's what these dice are, and that comes back later in the story as well. And the dice are important to him for whatever reason, and they allow him to determine it is going to be this day that I want all the Jews to be annihilated. Not just like we're going to beat up a bunch of people or we're going to put them in prison. Annihilation. Okay? Annihilation. Completely gone. Because we don't like Mordecai.
A little overkill, but whatever.
And he goes to the king and gets the king to sign a decree and convinces the king that these people don't follow our laws. They are different from us. They could be a threat. We should wipe them out. Okay. I put a little note in my Bible, parentheses, holy, because he specifically says their laws are different from those of every other people. And I thought of Leviticus. You shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. Holy meaning set apart, keep yourselves different from everybody else. And Haman says, they are holy and I don't like it. They're different from us. And so he convinces the king to sign a decree and publish this document saying on the 12th month, on the 13th day, anybody who doesn't like the Jews can just kill them and take all their stuff.
Great.
Cool. Not a great time. And that document is published throughout the entire kingdom. And then chapter 4 begins. Somebody else other than Benjamin? Someone who hasn't spoken yet? Okay, Lucy. Chapter 4.
Okay. So, when Esther hears about this, Mordecai hears about the decree that they're going to be wiped out, he's really sad. He tears his clothes. And somehow, they're like, Esther and Mordecai are like exchanging messages.
Yeah. They're not talking directly because that would be suspicious,
Yeah.
but they're passing messages back
Yeah.
and forth as though they're talking directly.
Yeah, and so they decide they have to do something about it, and so Mordecai like the main verse, for if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will rise from the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not come into the kingdom for such a time as this. So, like, it's not specifically mentioned, he isn't specifically mentioned, but like, God, like, put Esther into this role, and she's like, I'm gonna go talk to the king, and if I perish, I perish.
Yeah. Because it's revealed here that you don't just go to the king, like for any reason, but especially to challenge one of his decrees.
Yeah.
You can't just go and be like, I got a bone to pick with you, king. You would be taken away and executed for that, especially challenging the king's direct decree. And that's why Esther says, well, if I die, I die. I'm going to go and I'm going to challenge the king, and if I die, I die. Like, she's kind of like, what's the worst that can happen? I get executed before all of my people are killed? Ooh. Like, she's dead either way. It's like a lose-lose with a sliver of a chance of winning at this point. And she makes up her mind to go and essentially challenge the king on his decree. Yeah.
I'm wondering if you could explain the context a little bit better, because when I was reading it, I was like, I don't know if I really understand what's going on. So there's this law that you can't go visit the king unless he calls you. It's like, okay, but maybe I just don't understand like how important that law is, because I'm like, I don't see the big deal. It's like this is the queen, like his wife.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way he's gonna kill her for coming to see him, right?
I mean,
I don't. Maybe I just don't understand why this is such a big deal.
He banished his last queen because she wouldn't show up to a
Right.
party.
Right.
So he might have some anger issues or some
We also
respect.
we also
problems.
see many times in this book how drunk he gets.
Yeah.
How often, very often.
Like,
So like,
he kills his right hand man.
not a great
No.
guy.
He's
He's
clearly not patient
Irrational.
or not rational. He kind of just you upset me, you're dead, or you're banished, or whatever. Plus, we do also see though that there are certain laws in effect, like it'll be revealed in a little bit. If the king writes and signs a decree, that cannot be removed.
Right.
Even by the king. He can't go back on his own word. There are certain laws that he does follow, even though he's the king and should be able to just disregard that. I'm wondering if this is one of those, like, if you come uninvited into the king's chamber, you're just gonna die.
Right.
Unless
Legally,
he
you just can't do that unless he
Right.
invites you in.
Yeah.
But also we just see he's pretty irrational. Does that answer your question? Like, I don't have an exact answer.
Right, yeah.
Of like, why can't even the queen come
Yeah.
in?
Yeah.
Like, of all people, you would think.
Yeah. I think maybe I just don't understand the culture.
But I think
context, stuff
also
like
culturally, like we think king and queen, they're like equal co-rulers.
She's not the queen.
Not in Persia.
King, woman,
that. Right.
who happens to be called queen
Right.
because she's the favorite of the women.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I think culturally we have a hard time thinking of that, and that's a good thing. That we think men and women are equal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not so culturally and historically at this time. Right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mention it, and I'll assume no, but he didn't have multiple wives.
Oh,
Did
we had
he?
concubines.
Well, yeah, but did he have?
It does seem to imply that there is the queen, or the one queen.
Whether that means they're husband and wife, and that's the only wife he has.
It's
One of them
extremely
is given the
doubtful
name.
that there is only one woman.
Yeah, based on the way he's
Head
been
woman
acting.
lady.
If you go back through chapter 2, it suggests that she's just not the one woman, she is just top woman.
Yeah, the beauty pageant
Top woman of the year.
that she won.
Gave her the title of queen. But that's
But what happened to all the others?
Other
Execution.
concubines and porcupines.
I mean, okay, the beauty pageant was go spend a night with the king, and if he likes what happens,
Oh,
then
wait,
you get
what?
promoted.
Whoa.
Read chapter
a lot
2,
of women
verse
act like that
chapter
here.
2, verse 13. Okay, each of these young women would spend a night with the king, and he would decide whether or not she should be promoted. And Esther was promoted. Okay, this is not a moral story by any means. There is bad things. Okay, there is drinking, there is sex, there is murder, there is conspiracy by all parties. Okay, both the protagonist and the antagonist do immoral things. This is not do what they're doing.
Yeah.
This is learn from their experience. Okay, a lot of things in the Bible are not do exactly what they did, which is weird to think about.
Yeah.
This is our like example book, right, of how to live. A lot of times that is an example of how not to live.
Is there a sin for me to avoid?
Is there a sin for me to avoid? Yeah, did you have a question?
So you know how in chapter 2 how it says that Esther hid that she was a Jew?
Mhm.
Do you think Haman didn't know she was a Jew before he decided to stick the decree?
We do not have any indication that Haman knew or anybody knew that Esther was a Jew until she reveals it during her banquet.
Do they
Which
know
also
that?
means that they didn't know she was related to Mordecai?
Which should mean that they
Yeah.
didn't know that she and
Because
Mordecai
they
were related.
obviously knew Mordecai was a Jew?
Yeah.
Like,
Huh.
It would
She
seem
made no
as though
connection.
she hid her relation to Mordecai and by extension the rest of the Jewish community hid that entirely from everybody. Now, there were messengers sending secret messages back and forth. They might have known, or they might have just thought that that was a good friend. I don't know. We're not told. But it seems when she makes this big reveal in a couple of chapters,
It's like
that's like, oh my goodness, what? I conspired to kill the queen's people?
right. So
Like, that's a
like,
big surprise.
so like if
Yeah.
they had found out that she was a Jew prior to that, do you think Haman would have tried to do that, knowing that
He probably would have tried, but the king would have rejected it, I think.
because he'd be like, "Then what about my person? What
Yeah.
about-"
My head
But-
woman figure.
But he also,
that.
he also, Haman, from my memory, did not specify the Jewish people are the problem in his like proposal to the king. Now, obviously, that was in the declaration, but did the king write that himself? Did he even proofread it?
I don't think we agree.
Like, could he read? I assume so. When Haman was
did he read
proposing,
it
he's
when
like,
he was drunk?
there are these people who are a threat. He didn't say the Jews are a threat. He said there are these people, they're different, they could be a threat to us, we should probably just wipe them out.
You're queen.
I don't know, that's beside the point, let's keep going. Where are we at? Chapter 5, alright. Who wants to take chapter 5? Katie, go ahead.
So then Esther goes in, and the king does not kill her. And she's like, hey, I have this banquet. Would you and Haman go to it? So they do. And then she said, can you go to this other banquet as well? And then,
She's kind of stalling.
yeah.
Like that's what I get out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, come
She's
to the
nervous.
banquet and I'll tell you what's wrong.
Yeah.
And then she's like, come to the banquet tomorrow and I'll tell you what's wrong then. Nice babies. Like that's what I get is like,
I killed a man.
like she's probably shaky and like has the like leg sweats
That's what I'm
tomorrow.
And then Haman goes home and he has this like thing with his friends and his wife, and he's like, I just hate Mordecai so much. And his wife is like, just hang him. And then,
Just kill him.
so he's like, oh okay, and he builds this thing, and then he goes.
Is this Spike or what does he build to kill?
Okay, that is a good question.
Because it's
So he leaves the banquet.
Yeah.
He's super happy, also probably drunk, and then he sees Mordecai and like immediately just. And yeah, his friends and his wife are like, yeah, just kill him. And so Haman is like, cool. In the ESV it says, let a gallows 50 cubits high be made, and in the morning tell the king to have Mordecai hanged upon it. Okay. When you hear the word gallows, what are we thinking?
There's like the
Probably
place
the
where
Mexican
they-
restaurant.
in place where the
The
the Mexican restaurant called Gallows. Hangman.
Okay. Anybody got a letter?
Mordecai!
E.
Mordecai!
That's not a letter.
Anybody else got another letter?
Oh!
I can't.
Well, I think I misspelled
Hey.
something. There he goes there.
Mordecai!
Yeah!
Yay!
Right? And we're thinking like gallows. Hang the guy, right? That is a very Western thought. That form of execution, to be strangled by a rope that is attached to something, that is not an Eastern form of execution historically. Okay, that is like Europe, and then by extension America. Okay, like when you think of someone being hanged, you're like Robin Hood,
Yeah.
cowboys, pirates.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, pirates won't.
Europe, America, and like also America and Europe. Okay.
Europe,
America, Yeah, Europe, America, both. Okay. Yeah, witches. Also Europe and America.
And the
Um,
burned to death.
This is not, historically speaking, how especially Persia executed people. We have historical documents of how people were executed really all over the world, but especially in Persia, we know that they were not hanged by a rope and strangled or broken to death.
Right, but this is murder. This wasn't an execution done by the kingdom or whatever. This
Okay,
is
it
murder.
turns into a official execution later. Spoiler alert.
Yes, but
Now it's plot
And-
murder.
okay, someone tell me how high is 50 cubits?
75 feet.
Too tall.
About 75 feet. Okay. Higher than it needs to be. This is clearly very public. Okay. Whether it's a dangler or something else, 75 feet. That is made to show off the corpse. Would we agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
totally.
Okay.
That's what you have.
Historically speaking, Persia did not hang people. What they did was impale people. Okay? The words here, let a gallows 50 cubits high be made. A gallows, that word is a pretty similar word to tree or stake. Okay, it could be translated into gallows, but that's a bit of a stretch from tree. Okay? He says, let a tree be put up. It's 75 feet tall, and we will hang him from it. The word for hang is more like attach or suspend, not in like a dangly way, but like if I were to, grab a piece of paper and come over here and like staple it, I hanged it there, hung it there, right? It's not the same word for hang, it's attach to a thing, okay? So the two like more accurate, historically speaking, ways that Haman was planning on killing Mordecai, and the spoiler alert, Haman gets executed this way, was either setting him on a stake that impales him, most likely vertically. Okay. Yeah.
Imagine
Whoa.
it's like hanging there waiting till you're
Whoa.
dead.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that is
Big
the art
stake
form.
enters through the abdomen-ish area and
Hurts a lot.
probably gets the skull as well. And then there's just
That's a sight.
I would rather be hung.
Don't need to
we're
drop
not playing hangman, we're playing
Impale man! Impale man! Impale man!
Oh my.
impale man.
You push him down a little as he
Okay.
goes.
Guys, like,
The,
bang on his
the
head.
other option, similarly, would be something like crucifixion. Okay, hands and feet on
stretch across
on the
75
stake
feet.
and nailed or stapled to a stake. Okay, most likely not hanged with a noose. Okay,
Keep doing that.
we're gonna move on. Yeah.
I was just gonna say it. We wouldn't. I don't think understand if we translated it like literally like
Yeah.
go make a tree so that you can attach him to it. But what does that even mean? So I think we translate this way. That we get the picture. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
For
He wants
English
to kill him.
speakers,
He
we
died.
understand
Yeah.
he was attached to a wooden thing in a way that
That
was
would
meant to
kill
kill him.
Yeah.
For us, we understand hanging
Yeah.
more than we do impaling.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Okay. Let's kill Mordecai. Woo. Elsewhere in chapter 6, the king could not sleep. He has his historical documents from recent times read to him, just like everybody does. When you can't sleep, you have your diary read to you. That's what I do all the time. He has like his official records read to him of everything that happened in the throne room. So like it's not even his diary; it's more like the minutes of a business meeting.
Oh, I guess that would put you to sleep.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Puts me to sleep every time we have a business meeting and have to read what happened last time.
Yeah.
So he has that read to him, and like as he's drifting off and whatever, the fairly recent account of how Mordecai saved him. I say fairly recently. It may have been about 10 years previous. That was read to him, and he's like, "Did we ever like honor him for saving me?" And the scribes and officials were like, "It doesn't say we did. I don't remember anything." And just then Haman comes in, fuming like, "I'm gonna kill Mordecai." And he walks in, and the king is like, "Ah, Haman, just the guy I wanted to see. If there was someone that I wanted to celebrate, and I wanted to honor him because he did something that pleased me, what do you think I should do? And Haman's like, okay, you should put him on a horse with like a royal robe that you have worn that everybody knows this belongs to the king. You should have him paraded throughout the city and everybody should celebrate him, and you should have one of your officials escort him and like sing his praises throughout the whole city. That's what I think you should do for this somebody you want to honor. It's me, right? And the king's like, great, Haman. Go get Mordecai, put him on a horse, you personally parade him through the city singing his praises. Great idea. I love the way you think. Do you think Haman was happy?
I think he was like,
I would have loved to see a seizure and die.
So that definitely didn't help him at all. That reversal of roles where he thought he was being honored,
You know,
and instead he is the one who had to do the honoring of his like mortal enemy that he was on his way to ask the king if he could kill him.
if you think about it,
Someone
Haman
needs
needs to go to
therapy.
therapy.
Yes.
Therapist for like
Absolutely.
years.
Yep. And after that, he goes home. Haman goes home back to his friends and his wife, and is like even more furious, and is just like, I need to kill this guy. And then there's a knock at the door, and it's the royal escort to take Haman to the second banquet that Esther is putting on. Okay, someone tell me what happens at the second banquet. Benjamin.
So he goes in, and they're having the second banquet, and I forgot the king's name. The king asks, I swear I was about to say Xerxes. He asked Esther, he's like, okay, so what do you want? And she's like,
This is like
"Look."
the third time that he is asked, what do you want? Because the first time was like he saw her sulking and invited her into the throne room and was like, you look upset, what's going on?
Is this still
Come to a
Genesis?
banquet. This is chapter 7.
Oh.
So he's like, what's going on? Come to a banquet and I'll tell you. Okay. At the first banquet, okay, what's going on? Come to a banquet and I'll tell you. So this is the third time that he's asked, what's your deal?
I could see this guy going in and being like, you haven't told me yet, kill her.
She's giving me the silent treatment. Something must be wrong.
Okay, so after that, she's like, my people are going to be destroyed, and I will be killed along with this. And he's like, okay, who's doing this? Who are we going to get rid of here? And she's like,
Who dares to do this?
and he was
he did
like,
it. And so he's like, okay, kill him. We're just going to offer him.
Well, she also reveals that she's a Jew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She reveals my people are up for full-on execution and annihilation and elimination.
Which includes
My
Mordecai.
people. And I will be included in that. Someone is scheming to kill me by extension. Yeah. And, oh look, the king rose in his wrath from the wine drinking. Great. Drunk and angry.
Not
And- And in yet another twist of fate and upsetting, Haman is suspended from a tree. Whatever, he is executed in on the very execution implement that he had set up for Mordecai. That 75-foot tall whatever. He is whatevered on it. For everyone to see.
Hello.
Great.
very pleasant sighting.
What an end to the bad guy. Alright, but the problem isn't over. Just because the guy who planned everything is dead does not mean that the plan is dead. Because remember, this is a royal decree to kill all the Jews. Okay?
Great.
Just because Haman is gone does not mean that his plan is gone. Okay? So, in chapter 8, Esther and Mordecai is brought in now, and King Ahasuerus are all trying to figure out how can we save the Jews. And Esther and Mordecai come up with a plan, and Ahasuerus more or less says, like, you can write this decree, but you can't unwrite a decree that is made. All right? And we tend to think like he shut them down and said you can't like make a decree that says that the old decree is done. He didn't really say that. He says make a new decree and know that once it is signed by the king, there's no undoing. And that's where we get this understanding of they had to have a separate new decree that kind of opposes the original one, because once it's written, it can't be unwritten. That is all in the context of this new decree. Just basically make sure it's a good one, because once it's published, it can't be unpublished. And we know that that is true about the old decree as well, because it's a decree signed by the king. Okay? So we're not told that they can't undo the original decree. We're told they can't undo this new one, and we understand that applies to the old one as well. So it has to counteract. Okay? That was something that I read it and I was like, wait a second. That's different than what I remember.
Yeah.
But that's what's in here. Is that the new decree is signed by the king and cannot be undone. We understand that the old one was signed as well, and if it's signed by the king, it can't be undone. So the new decree says when the old decree goes into effect and the Jews are being attacked, they are allowed and encouraged to fight back and to overcome their enemies and to destroy them. Okay, it's giving them like government-sanctioned self-defense by whatever means necessary. Destroy your enemies. Don't just like defend yourself. Destroy your enemies who come to kill you, including the government officials who are going to come and kill you.
Do we know how big the Jewish population was at the time?
We know that it was enough to kill 75,000 plus 300 plus 500 of their enemies.
That's a lot.
You can look back in Kings and Chronicles and see how many were taken into Babylon, but that would have been about 100 years previous, and population would go up and down from there. We don't know exactly, but enough that they were able to defend themselves and killed 75,800 men in 2
And
days.
they decided not to just let Amon go and die doing that instead of.
He needed to be taken care of earlier. Yeah. So that kind of gets us into chapter 9. Is that this new decree goes out? There's celebration that okay, we have a chance to defend ourselves. Yes, amazing. The day comes, and they take action against their enemies. Throughout all of the land, there was 75,000 enemies of the Jews destroyed. In the capital city, there were 500 men on the first day, and then they got an extension to a second day where they took another 300 men. 300 of their enemies were defeated. So in the city, they got 2 days,
How many
and
Jews
then
died?
partied on the third day. Everywhere else, they got the 1 day to defend themselves, and then the next day was celebration.
So was there a lot of casualties from Israel?
We're
From
not
the
told.
Jews?
We're not told here. We can assume that there was some, but it definitely indicates that the Jews were the successful parties here. Presumably, someone died, right? But it's very strongly implied that it was fewer of the Jews died, significantly fewer Jews, if they were like partying the next day and not mourning their losses. And then at the end of chapter 9, this like 1 to 2 day defeat of their enemies, and then the following day party is then like firmly established as a holiday. Like this happened, and now the next year and the next year, on and on for generations, we're going to celebrate that with 2 to 3 days of gift giving and feasting and partying and celebrating to remember when we were saved from our enemies. And like it seems like it's immediately turned into a holiday. Like that year they turned it into a holiday, so the next year we remember. And that's cool. And that is how the Jews get the holiday of Purim, calling back to the dice that Haman sat for a year casting dice, and they named it Dice Day. Because just like Haman casting dice and casting lots to figure out when the Jews would be killed, dice are really good at rolling and coming up a different way than what you want them to. And that happened with Haman, right? His dice were cast and rolled in a way that he got the spike.
Spike man.
Yeah.
Why, if he was brewing for like a year, okay, why did it take him getting drunk and going out with his people to make him think, oh, I could just kill him?
Just killed Rick.
Like, I've been brewing
I
this
think
trying to
a
figure out the
year.
perfect time to
He was
kill him.
probably trying to work around it so that he wouldn't be directly responsible for one person's death, but it would be the king responsible for everyone, and Mordecai would just kind of get hit in the crossfire. So he wouldn't be accused of murdering someone. And it took him a year and some change, and then drunk and angry, to just be like, whatever, I'm just going to kill him, it's worth
He
it.
probably was pretty stupid. That's
That's it, yeah.
Alright. Did I miss anything in chapter 9? I don't think so.
Chapter 10 is very short.
And then, yeah, chapter 10 is very short. It's 3 verses that just says that Mordecai gets promoted and elevated basically to Haman's position, maybe higher. We don't really know how high up Haman was,
just
but
replaced Haman.
Mordecai is like second in command underneath King Ahasuerus now. So the ultimate like role reversal for Haman to Mordecai is that Mordecai basically took Haman's place as right-hand man, very important to the king.
Oh, and Haman took Mordecai's place.
And Haman took Mordecai's place,
Yeah.
being
Spiked.
spiked. Yep.
Being spiced and being
Right.
right hand.
And Mordecai was very popular with the Jews because he saved them. Very cool. All right. Did I miss anything in the summary? Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay.
With the rule where you like can't go and talk to the king unless like he invites you. Haman was like on his way to go see the king about one thing. Would that have?
Well, I think
He
it's.
would, he would probably like stop outside the throne room, talk to the like secretary or the guards or whatever. They would go and be like, "Hey, Haman's here. Do you invite him in?" Versus like barging in uninvited. That's kind of
Also,
how
I
I see
think
it.
men- I can
Like
see-
you can go and request an appointment.
Yeah.
You can't just walk
And
right in.
Esther wasn't gonna go and.
I think
Esther
also
was-
men have more of a right to do it since women are
Yeah.
more below men.
Yeah. Also that.
And Esther's reasoning too. I'm sure they had to give some sort of reason for the appointment. If she said, "Hey, I
I'm
want
here
to
to
defy something you
challenge the
said."
king.
Yeah.
I'm here
Versus,
to talk.
I'm here to talk with my good buddy Ahasuerus. We go way back. We drink together all the time. So I have a question for him, and I think he's gonna like it.
Okay, but
All right, we gotta finish up. This is less of a talk about and more of a think about, and that's kind of how I planned it anyway. So think about why God has you where you are. Okay.
I'm trying to figure that out for the past few days. I've been literally crying, like,
Right.
where am I?
So, in chapter 4, Mordecai suggests to Esther, maybe you are here because of this exact reason, right? Maybe you've been put in this position for such a time as this. Doesn't say maybe God put you here, but that's the implication. Maybe God put you here so that you can do something that impacts a lot of people. So, for the next week or more, every day for the rest of your lives, I want you to think, why does God have you where you are? Why does God have you in this church, in the school or the homeschool program that you're in ballet, in whatever extracurricular activities you're in your family, in Fairbanks, right? In this time period, you want to get that like philosophical with it? Like, what's your purpose? What does God have in store for you? Just something to constantly be thinking about. Right? Dear Lord, thank you so much for today. Thank you for putting us where we are for a reason, for a purpose. I pray that you would reveal that to us. But more importantly, I pray that your will would be done. However that is, I just pray that we would play the role that you have destined us for, and that we would do it faithfully, and that we would glorify you in everything that we do. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.